Hello everyone and welcome to Geopolitics and Money. Arthur Conan Doyle once said, "The world is full of obvious things which nobody by any chance ever observes." The key question we have to ask now: why would the United States provoke economic tensions with its largest trading partner, knowing it would hurt American consumers and businesses in the short term? The answer lies in a deeper strategy: decoupling from China and preventing Beijing from cementing its dominance in global trade. Advanced technology and a rare earth mineral needed for EVs, AI, and military weaponry. Yet, it is a foregone conclusion that China has indeed made strides and major progress in a host of sectors. Let's take a deep dive into what the US is actually doing with its trade war with China and what the game is really about. My name is Dr. David Oualaalou, and you are watching Geopolitics and Money.
A full-blown trade war between the world's two biggest economies, the US and China, seems even closer.
Donald Trump, it's being reported, now threatening a further 50% tariff on China.
President Donald Trump was considering a 90-day tariff pause on all countries except China.
Companies in China say they could be badly hit by the ongoing trade war with the US. The Trump administration put tariffs of 145% on most Chinese imports.
Mr. Trump accused Beijing of showing a lack of respect by retaliating.
The White House issued blanket levies on all Chinese imports into the US of 145%. Retaliation from Beijing took their tariff rate on imports from America up to 125%.
So we begin with the breaking news. A fresh trade war between the US and China has just kicked off.
Well. Looks like Americans are very frustrated, disappointed, and increasingly angry at the state of politics 100 days plus into Donald Trump's second term in the White House. It comes on the heels of Donald Trump's reigniting a full-scale trade war with China. And I do not need to remind you that most headlines focused on tariffs, job protections, and trade deficits. But beneath the surface, this conflict is about much more than economics. It's a battle for global supremacy in critical industries, supply chains, and yes, geopolitical influence. The poison pill strategy: economic containment by design. In 2025, the United States has intensified its efforts to economically contain China by embedding poison pills clauses into the bilateral trade agreements. These provisions are designed to discourage US allies from deepening economic ties with China, effectively forcing them to choose between aligning with the United States or risking economic penalties. Yet, some countries shrugged that off and moved forward with plans to strengthen their bilateral trade with China. Colombia, being the latter, is a case in point. What about the US and UK economic prosperity deal? One might ask. A prominent example is the US-UK economic prosperity deal signed in May 2025. Under this agreement, the US will reduce tariffs on British cars exports from 27.5% to 10% for up to 100,000 vehicles annually. Also, tariffs on the UK steel and aluminum exports will be lifted, contingent upon the UK meeting US security requirements related to supply chain transparency and ownership structures. The UK has also agreed to work towards meeting US requirements on the security of supply chain for steel, aluminum, and pharmaceutical products intended for export to the United States, which includes considerations of ownership of relevant production facilities. These measures are widely perceived as efforts by the US to isolate China by pressuring allies to limit their economic engagement with Beijing. China has expressed strong opposition to the deal, warning that it could lead to the exclusion of Chinese products from UK supply chains. Zhang Yangzheng, a senior researcher at the China Academy of Macroeconomics Research, described the deal clauses as poison pills that are worse than tariffs. Then comes the visible war of rare earth and critical minerals. In 2025, rare earth and critical minerals have become the heart of the US-China trade war. China still controls 90% of global rare earth processing and supplies about 70% of US import. These materials, dysprosium, terbium, gallium, and germanium, are essential for defense systems, EVs, wind turbines, semiconductors, and critical infrastructure. In April of this year, 2025, China escalated tensions with fresh export restrictions on these elements, creating supply shocks for the US and global manufacturers. This was a direct response to heightened US tariffs up to 145% and expanded tax sanctions targeting China's chip industry. US strategic response included the following: $2.5 billion in federal funding allocated to boost domestic rare earth processing. Maintaining Pass Mine, California, expanded but refining still lags behind. New alliances with Australia, Canada, and the EU aim to reduce dependency on China. Analysts estimate 3 to 5 years before the US can meet critical demand without Chinese supply chains. So why does it all matter? Why do you need to know? Rare earths are now recognized as a national security priority. Here is why. They are essential for military applications, stealth technology, precision-guided weapons, among others. They are also critical for the clean energy transition, for EVs, renewables, in addition to central to maintaining US technological and industrial leadership. China's dominance represents a strategic chokehold that the US can no longer afford. In 2025, the rare earth battle is no longer a side issue. It is in the front line of the economic Cold War. Then there is the other side of the equation, China's response and adaptation. China is actively responding to the trade war challenges by doing the following: implementing export controls on key rare earth elements affecting global supply chains, expanding the Belt and Road Initiative with over 150 countries participating as of May 2025, with Colombia being the latest to sign up for China's BRI. And of course, accelerating domestic chip production, aiming for 70% self-sufficiency by 2025, though current estimates suggest a 30% achievement. These measures aim to reduce vulnerability and counteract US economic pressures. Now, I want to really talk to you about an extraordinarily important topic, and that is how the United States of America is currently making sure that its national security isn't compromised, or at least they are trying. As you know, there are many moving parts, from trade to the dollar, and my focus is on materials, the bedrock of our economy. Without them, the United States will find it hard to compete with China. That's why President Trump has signed several executive orders to protect copper production and mining on U.S. soil. Copper is often called the new oil. It is at the heart of America's future, and I could not be more bullish about it, especially when it is coupled with gold. Copper demand is surging, while supply struggles to keep pace. On a scale of 1 to 10, I am a full 10 on domestic U.S. copper production. Now, here is where basic and common sense supply and demand come into my bullish thesis. Global mine production is expected to peak in 2026 with a projected 700,000 tons deficit in 2025 alone. Underinvestments in a new mine has created a supply crunch. Like I said before, this is the time to get bullish and inquisitive on this sector in addition to other metals. The US-China trade war has disrupted global copper supply chains. China, which controls 50% of global smelting, faces export challenges. Trump's investigation into copper imports aimed at bolstering national security is the leading edge in a worldwide revolution in mining. I want us to truly grasp the scope of the opportunity with copper mining on US soil. This is precisely what the administration thinks about copper. Let me share some quotes with you. For example, the US Secretary of Commerce, Howard William Lutnick, said, and I quote, "American industries depend on copper, and it should be made in America. No exemptions, no exceptions." End of quote. Mr. Trump himself said, and I quote, "I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel because if we don't have it, we don't have a military. And frankly, we won't have. We just won't have a country very long." End of quote. Trump has also said, and I quote, "Copper should be made in America. It's time for copper to come home." End of quote. The world is hungry for copper. This leads me to talk about the sponsor of today's video, Giant Mining, stock ticker BFGFF. Check it out. Not only does it own a copper, silver, gold project in Nevada, but it also recorded its best ever drill intercepts in September 2024, with additional great results in the past few weeks. This company is the only copper company I am bullish on right now. On February 14th of this year, Executive Order 14213 was issued and implicitly prioritized copper as a critical resource. Nevada, where Giant Mining copper project is situated, has constantly ranked among the top mining jurisdictions in the world, which is why I am bringing this company to your attention. Giant Mining's balance sheet is now fully funded for its drilling programs in 2025. Giant Mining is well positioned to accelerate its exploration efforts and potentially capitalize on emerging copper markets opportunities. This is great news in my view. The share price is down by about 50% since early February, due to, of course, market turmoil. So I am highlighting the company to you today for a reason. Giant Mining, once again, US stock ticker is BFGFF, owns the Majuba Hill copper project. This is a fast-producing mine. In the past 4 years, Managements and the company's geologists have actually expanded the copper deposits, and this past September, Giant Mining hit their best ever drill hole. Historic underground mines at the Majuba Hill project produced copper, tin, and silver from the early 1900s all the way to 1950s. And it includes the following: 2.8 million pounds of copper, 185,000 ounces of silver, 5,800 ounces of gold, and 21,000 pounds of tin. I will say this again. All of these factors and the following ones below are the ones that led to my significant bullish opinion about Giant Mining. The infrastructure is ready due to the following: access roads, power supply, transportation, water supply, ore stockpile, and processing plant. Do your homework on Giant Mining, stock ticker BFGFF. As always, there are always risks in investments and there are no guarantees of any kind. Thank you.